Now in international law, remember there are 4 broad topics that you need to study. Understand the syllabus of international law first, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so there are 4 broad topics in international law. The first topic that is there, or the category of topic that is there in the international law, that I say, sort of a individual thing, that is your nature of international law, recognition, statelessness, and recognition में formation वो सब उसके साथ ही देखेंगे, ठीक है? And that is the human rights, right? Now these are the topics which are individual in nature, and you have a direct question from that. Okay, what are the various types of recognition? Differentiate between de facto and de jure recognition. So very simple recognition type question, a very direct question you get. Second category of topic that is in our syllabus is basically your UN Charter. Now remember, in the case of UN Charter, we have 5 topics that is there in the international law syllabus, which is directly UN Charter. The first topic is UN Charter itself, organs of UN. In that, generally you have a question of, okay, what are the power and function of Economic and Social Council, what is the power and function of Security Council, so and so. Very simply, individual questions here. Second is your Pacific Settlement of Dispute. Now this is chapter 6 of UN Charter. Pacific Settlement of Dispute is actually your chapter 6 of UN Charter. Okay. Then we have non-Pacific Settlement of Dispute, that is your forceful settlement of dispute. That is basically your chapter 7 of the UN Charter. So the heading of that particular chapter is basically the syllabus. This is Constitution part 3, the heading fundamental right. So in our similarly we have in our UN Charter part 6, heading is our syllabus, Pacific Settlement of Dispute. Similarly part 7, non-Pacific or forceful settlement of dispute, that is our syllabus number in our syllabus, that is exactly same heading is in our syllabus. So it means कि UN Charter itself consists of almost 5 topics. In that also I have subsumed in the forceful settlement of dispute, we have also concept of self-defense. Self-defense relates to article 51 of UN Charter, which is within this chapter itself. Actually it is the last article of chapter 7 of the UN Charter. So that comes within that itself. Understood that? Aggression, intervention, right? So all those comes under the non-Pacific settlement of dispute, right? So it means that UN itself is almost 25 to 30% of your syllabus, UN Charter. UN Charter is 30% of your syllabus. Anyway, today you can clearly say that UN can be considered the only world parliament you have, right? So more or less it is true also that we should have UN Charter as a very important topic. Then comes is terrorism and nuclear. Now nuclear topic we have, whereby normally they ask you question with regard to various nuclear treaty that we have in international law, right? Like this year they have asked Treaty of Non-Nuclear Prohibition 2017. Same thing they have repeated in 2019 also. So for 19 it was a current affair, right? But this time it was not a current affair because almost a decade has passed. Okay. Similarly, alright, so you write it down here, terrorism, then second is nuclear, and then there is ICJ opinion with regard to using or threat to use nuclear weapon. There is an ICJ opinion with regard to using or threat to use nuclear weapon. On that also we sometimes have a question, right? So that is the third part of the syllabus that I say, right? That is the third part of syllabus. Now again, it consists of mostly 20%, not more than 20%, and 3-4 questions comes from that, not more than that. And then we have fourth part of syllabus, that is your economic and environment. Now in economic environment there are basically 2 topics. The first is the International Environmental Conventions, human being and environment, right? Human, man and environment. There was a conference that was there in 1972 called the Stockholm Conference. The name of that conference was Man and Environment. That is exactly the topic of our syllabus. That is Stockholm Conference of 1972, right? So that is the one question they get. And then second question that they have in this is with regard to your international economic institutions, World Bank, IMF, like this year they have asked you what do you mean by that national treatment principle. Okay, right? So obviously we will discuss it. There are two principles basically in case of our international economic institution. One is national treatment and second is, GS में पढ़ा, what is the second principle name? Very famous. One is the national treatment. कि जो भी टैक्स लगाना बॉर्डर पे लगा लो, जैसे ही कोई भी चीज़ comes within the border, you will treat them nationally. So you cannot have a taxation system in GST कि अगर चाइना में बना टीवी है तो 18% GST और इंडिया वाले में 12%. That you cannot have. That is the national treatment principle. There is another principle. What is the name? Yes, most favored nation. Very correct. Most favored nation. Now this MFN. What is MFN? MF is basically if you are giving someone a preference, you will extend the same preference to every one of them. तो देखा जाए तो सामान अगर कंट्री के बाहर हैं तो MFN प्रिंसिपल अप्लाई होगा कि procure from every country, but if you give preference to one country, same preference you will give to another country. ठीक है, so it means कि MFN is mostly related to once a country is procuring something from other country. National treatment is applicable when that goods have entered in your country. ठीक है, so there are two principles. That is the two bedrock principles of every negotiation: national treatment and most favored nation. Right. So obviously from that we have questions. Right. So it means कि 4 category in which the question comes, and more or less this is again 20%. Right. This is again you will see that almost 20%. Right. So this is, you can even go to 40% here. This is actually very important. Right. The UN Charter. Right. So that is the sort of a flyover view of our syllabus, right, that we will study here. Now each of the part we will give due importance. Obviously we will give lot of importance to UN part. Take a lot of question comes in UN. So in fact UN is so important that like last year there was a very interesting question, what are the rights and duties of the state? There is no convention in the world which says this is the right and this is the duty of the state. Where will you get the answer? The answer is the purpose and principle of UN Charter, Article 1 and 2, which actually provides okay, the state shall do this, the state will not do this. Right? Or if they have a question, what are the major principles of international law? Very generic question. What are the major principles of international law? There is no fixed principle of international law anywhere. So there also what you will write? Purpose and principle of UN Charter. That is also the major principle of international law. Like one of the principle is that territorial sovereignty of a state would be honored. Yeah, the state not to interfere into the territorial sovereignty of another country. Now if the question is what is the right of the state, so this is one of the rights of the state. What is the duty of the state? You simply flip it, not to interfere into territorial integrity of any other state. Now if they ask you what are the principle of international law, this is also one of the principle of international law. So that is what I am saying, that the UN Charter Article 1 and 2 is very very important. Right? I will literally dictate you different purpose and principle of the UN Charter that you can use in multiple ways throughout your international law paper. So आगे बात clear है, right? So a broad view of the international law paper we have discussed. Okay, accordingly we will give importance, not more than that. Understood? Okay.